In a small town somewhere in Africa, there lived a beautiful girl named Rosie. Rosie was loved by her mother, Mrs. Jacob. Rosie had two younger sisters who were also very beautiful. They all lived together happily. But something was wrong with Rosie. She had low self-esteem. Rosie thought everyone hated her. She didn't think she was pretty. When she walked by people, she felt they were talking about her. One day, Mrs. Jacob sent Rosie to the market to buy some fruits. When Rosie got there, she saw a woman selling fresh fruits. Her neighbor was laughing. Rosie thought they were laughing at her. She didn't know they were just having a happy talk before she arrived. Feeling angry, Rosie left the market and went home. She locked herself in her room. She cried and felt sad. Her mother begged her to open the door, but Rosie didn't listen. A few months later, one of Rosie's younger sisters got married. Everyone was happy. Rosie was happy for her sister, but she also felt sad. No one had come to ask for her hand in marriage. She thought, "I'm not pretty enough. I might die alone." Rosie lost the little self-love she had. She became distant from her friends and family. Mrs. Jacob was very worried about Rosie. She wished her daughter knew how special she was. One day, Mrs. Jacob had an idea. She wanted Rosie to see herself as a priceless jewel. So, she hired a handsome, rich young man from a good family to woo Rosie. His name was Kems. Mrs. Jacob told Kems everything he needed to know about Rosie. She asked him to be nice and not to take advantage of her. "I just want my daughter to be happy again and love herself," she said. Kems asked, "Are you sure this is the right way to help your daughter?" "No, I'm not," said Mrs. Jacob. "But I'm desperate. I want my daughter to know she is worthy of love." "I will try my best, Ma. Trust me," Kems replied. One sunny afternoon, Rosie was coming back from the market when Kems approached her. It was the first time a young man had talked to her as an adult. Rosie's eyes sparkled with excitement. She blushed during their conversation. "I will see you tomorrow," Kems said, waving goodbye. Rosie couldn't believe it. She was so happy that she ran home, dancing and singing. Mrs. Jacob smiled. She was so happy to see her daughter excited after a long time. Kems continued to visit Rosie, and their bond grew. He took her out and bought her beautiful gifts. Rosie's confidence started to grow. She became less shy and spoke more. Rosie fell in love with Kems. He was so cute and showered her with the love she had always wanted. After some months, Kems asked to meet Mrs. Jacob. "I want to stop this," he said. "My daughter is falling in love with you. I didn't want this to happen. I asked you to pretend to love her to make her happy, but it's enough now." Little did they know, Rosie heard their conversation. She walked in on them with tears in her eyes. "Did you ask him to come for me, Mother?" Rosie cried. "So Kems never loved me? I was just a joke to him? How could you do this to me, Mother?" She ran outside, crying bitterly. Kems followed her. "Rosie," he said, "I know your mother hired me to woo you, but I got to know you, and I grew fond of you. What started as a game has become real. I have fallen in love with you. I'm so sorry you had to find out this way. I hope you forgive your mom and me. Your mom meant no harm. She only wanted your happiness." As Kems turned to leave, Rosie ran to him and hugged him tightly. "I love you too," she said with a trembling voice. Kems turned, embraced her, and kissed her gently. A few months later, Kems and Rosie had the most beautiful wedding. Everyone attended. Rosie's confidence and self-love grew. She became a motivational speaker, sharing her story with young girls and boys about life and how to be happy. Rosie learned that Kems's love helped her grow in confidence. But true self-love comes from within. It cannot be given by anyone else. The end.